It had to have been close to midnight. Our son had gotten home from spending time with my in-laws, and like clockwork, he was screaming. Doubled over, pale, puking, absolutely in pain. Inconsolable. We could not make him feel better. My husband, he was just pacing up and down the hallway. I was trying to give him sips of water, rubbing his little back. It's just so hard when you're a parent and your kid is just in so much discomfort and there's only so much you can do. But we had asked them so many times, please, don't give him so much junk food. Don't pump him full of so much crap. His stomach can't handle it. When he comes home, he is in so much pain. Every time he'll wake up screaming, please stop. But they didn't stop. And I don't know if they felt like we were being too dramatic or strict, or maybe they thought we were trying to be perfect parents. I have no idea. All we were trying to do was just get it so our kid didn't have to be in pain. But that night, my husband, he picked up the phone while our son was crying in the background. He called his mom and he just held up the phone in the air. Not to shame her, but just so she could hear. He thought maybe this will help them understand. But even then, nothing really changed. But looking back now, I realized it wasn't just their problem. This was a problem with us because we didn't know what a real boundary was. We thought by asking them to not feed him so much junk, that was our boundary. But really, we were hoping that we would finally be respected. And when you confuse those two things, you stay stuck like us and you fill up with resentment and you keep getting hurt. So today, I want to help you see what's really going on, why your family doesn't respect your boundaries and how you can, like we did, take control, take your power back without trying to change them. Because what they are doing is definitely disrespectful. Trust me, I lived it for years. But what I'm about to share with you, it's going to set you free and undoubtedly protect your peace. It took me years to understand this, but disrespect isn't always defiance. A lot of the times it's something deeper, something invisible even. People don't always cross our boundaries because they're cruel or careless. Sometimes they're scared or stuck, or sometimes they're so fused with a role in the family that they can't even see what line you're asking them not to cross. And if we don't understand that, we can stay in this loop where we keep trying to fix, explain, overfunction, or sometimes we just cut people off completely because we think that is the only way to survive. But it's not. And today I want to show you, I want to walk you through the 4 common reasons your family doesn't respect your boundaries. And these are not surface level behaviors. These are things that are happening way, way beneath the surface, things that your family member isn't even conscious of. And once you see these, you're going to stop taking it personal, you're going to stop spiraling, and you're going to start protecting your peace with the kind of clarity that changes everything. Hey, if you're new here, I'm Jess. I am your boundary big sister, helping you navigate challenging relationships without having to cut them off. My husband and I spent years trying to be heard as parents until one final moment broke us, and that led to a 2-year estrangement, which is our biggest regret. Now we're here with you, trying to help you avoid the pain with everything that we've learned about what healthy boundaries really are. And if that speaks to you, definitely feel free to join our community. We're pretty awesome here. Just hit that subscribe button. It is absolutely free. And if you are an OG, welcome back. All right, let's get into it. The first reason why your family doesn't respect your boundary is that your boundary threatens their identity. Some boundaries aren't just about rules, they're about reality. Because when you say, we're just going to do things a little bit different, what some family members hear is, you did it wrong. Now, you're not saying that, but they can't not hear it. It literally threatens their identity, especially if they've tied their entire sense of self-worth into how they raised you or the way that they've always done things. And when someone's identity feels like it's under attack, even the kindest boundary feels like a betrayal. For example, here's a good example. A mom tells her mother that her and her husband are not going to be spanking the children. Her mom freezes and then scoffs oh, so I was a bad mom? She snaps and she doesn't let it go. Over the next few weeks, she continues with the passive-aggressive comments. They just keep rolling in. Kids these days, they get away with everything. I wish I would have spanked you more, then maybe you wouldn't be so anxious. I wish I would have spanked you more, then maybe you wouldn't be raising such soft kids. Now it's not just a disagreement, it's a rejection of the daughter's parenting. But what's underneath is even deeper. The grandma, she feels like her entire history is being rewritten. Her sacrifices, her mothering, her authority, all questioned in one sentence. We don't do that. This isn't about discipline. This is about dignity. And for some parents, your boundary makes them feel like they failed. Isn't that crazy? And it's not because you said it, it's because they cannot separate their worth from the way they parented you. Your decision literally makes them feel judged. And unless they've done some real inner work, they will not have the tools to sit with that. So instead of reflecting, they deflect. Instead of asking questions, they attack. But I want you to remember this. Their pain is not proof that you're doing something wrong. So how would you mind a boundary like this? Like if this were your situation, you've decided we are not going to be spanking our kids. How would you approach your mom? Like what would you say? For me, I would use the secure the bond method, like my unique approach, and I explain all of that with a plethora of examples in our newest boundary book. You can find all that in the resources below. But I would go to my mom and I would say, Mom, I love how much you care about the kids. It makes me feel so good just seeing you come over and playing on the floor with them. Like, I love that. Just so you know, we've decided we're not going to be spanking the kids. Instead, we're just going to use redirection and natural consequences. I know that's different, so you can either leave the disciplining to me and you can just relax and enjoy your time with the kids, or if you have questions, you can definitely ask and I will show you what I mean. Now, if she continues with the passive-aggressive comments and it is influencing or impacting your relationship, I would want to set a limit to that. So instead of getting wrapped up in debating her and arguing about it, I would just calmly repeat the boundary and I would follow it up with a gentle behavioral change. So I would say, I know, Mom, I know it's different, but just like you got to decide how you were going to raise us, we're just choosing what's best for us. And just so that you and I can enjoy our time together, if this gets brought up again, I'm going to respectfully change the subject. And then that's what you do. The next time she brings it up, you just say like, yeah, let's not talk about that. Let's talk about what we're going to have for lunch, or let's talk about what you did with your friends last night. Like, just gently change the subject because she knows that is how you're going to mind that boundary. You already told her once. But let's say she starts undermining you or saying stuff in front of your kids. Then I would get a little bit more firm and I would say, we're not okay with these comments in front of the boys. If it does happen again, we're going to leave, or we're going to end our visit early. I'm not trying to punish my mom. I'm just trying to protect our relationship and also just protect our kids. I don't want them to get confused. Why this works? It works because it acknowledges her role, her intention, without justifying the disrespect. It reinforces that boundaries are about your behavior. It's not about, waiting for hers to change. And it also models healthy leadership without shaming her into silence. Now on to the second reason why your family doesn't respect your boundaries. They may feel that their role grants them access. Some family members see boundaries as disrespectful, not because you said it in a rude way, but because they believe their role grants them lifetime access. To them, asking for space isn't a healthy adjustment, it's an insult. It disrupts hierarchy. It breaks the legacy script of, I'm the parent, you're the child, I have earned the right to be included. Like, these family members are often deeply rooted in generational loyalty, top-down authority. So when you try to install boundaries, they see that as rebellion. A great example, super fabulous. A daughter tells her dad, hey, you got to text before you come to visit. His response was, I built this house. I don't need an invitation to come see my own daughter. And he kept showing up. He would show up walking through the garage, interrupting family dinner. He showed up even once while she was sick, laying in bed. So when she finally confronts him, he just gets really offended and says, you've changed. But what I think he really meant was, you've grown up. In some families, your autonomy is seen as disloyalty. Like, they can't tolerate the shift from a child who needs me to an adult who decides things on their own. And this isn't always conscious. Many parents believe, they truly believe, that proximity equals love. They feel like they are granted permanent access in your life just because their role. But a role doesn't override respect, and growing up doesn't mean cutting off. It just means, growing your boundaries around your life so that your relationships can evolve. So how does a daughter mind a boundary like this? So this example is in the book, and I'm going to use the secure the bond approach, where I first am telling them how much I love them, how much they mean to me, just to keep their defenses low. Then I'm going to feed the boundary, and I'm going to share it in a way like this is how it will benefit you. So this is how it would sound if I was the daughter and I was telling my father, like, you have to text before you come over. Dad, I love how much you want to see us. Like, it truly means the world to me. We're just trying to create a little bit more structure in our home. So we're asking everybody to text before they come over. It helps us stay sane and prepare for your visit. That way we can just focus on you when you come over. If the boundary keeps getting crossed, meaning he keeps showing up anyway, like, it's not about arguing and trying to get him to agree. It's about you taking a step outside and just saying, oh, hey, Dad, like, good to see you. I'm so sorry. Like, tonight's not a good night. I wish you would have texted before you came over. Maybe we could plan something later this week. You don't invite him in. You don't explain why again. You just stick to that structure that you created. And then the next time he asks if you can come by, you get to decide. But I would definitely reward good behavior. So if you ask, I'd be like, yes, come on over. So why this works is it shifts that dynamic of assumed access to earned respect. It reclaims your home as your sanctuary, and it models that love and limits can coexist. Now moving on to the third reason why your family doesn't respect your boundaries. They equate control with care. Some family members truly believe that love means influence, and that if they are not directing your choices, they feel powerless. So when you set a boundary, they don't just feel blocked, they actually feel irrelevant, especially in families where you have enmeshment, fear-based loyalty, past trauma. Love gets fused with control. They're not trying to dominate you. They're trying to stay connected in the only way they know how, through direct interference and guilt. A perfect story to illustrate this is when a couple decides they're not going to baptize their baby. They tell grandma gently and with care, like, hey, we've decided to let them choose their spiritual path when they get older, and the grandma spirals. Absolutely loses it. She cries, sends articles, emails pastors, tries to do intervention, says things like, you're endangering my grandchild's soul. And underneath all of that panic is one big fear. If you don't need my guidance anymore, do I still matter? This is one of the most painful truths in boundary work. Some people often feel connected only when they're in control. So your boundary isn't just a no, it's a deep rupture in their attachment system, which is very, very painful. But it's not your job to convince them that you still love them. It's your job to live in alignment with what you value. And the longer that you let guilt steer your life, the more resentment is going to grow underneath. And we know how bad resentment is. So how would this couple mind a boundary like this? Again, this real life scenario is in the book, but I would use the secure the bond method, and I would go to grandma and say, Mom, we know that this concern is coming from a place of love and deep care about their spiritual future, and we really, truly do appreciate that. We have taken a lot of time to think this through, and we have decided not to baptize the baby, and this decision is not going to change. We're going to stand by it. What we hope is that you can honor this choice of ours so that we can stay close, involved, connected, and just be together as we raise them. And if she brings it up again, I would let her know, going forward, I'm not gonna engage in the conversation because it's just gonna damage our relationship. So out of respect and protection for our relationship, I'm gonna switch the topics. So that's how I would handle that. I wouldn't engage. I wouldn't debate. I would just let her know, oh, I know your strong feelings about this. We are going to stick to our choice, but in order for us to enjoy our afternoon together, let's talk about something different. Didn't you go play cards with the girls last weekend? Tell me about that. That's how I would handle that. And then you just got to do it. Boundaries aren't about being mean. They're just about ending that spiral. So why does this work? It honors the depth of their fear without rewarding the pressure. And it draws like a respectful line. It's an unmovable line, but it shows them like, hey, we can stay connected, and connection doesn't always require control. Okay, we're on the last reason, number 4. The fourth reason why your family doesn't respect your boundaries is they lack the emotional maturity to handle limits. Some family members are not trying to be disrespectful. They're just emotionally unequipped to tolerate boundaries. They never learned how to self-soothe, how to regulate their shame, how to sit in that discomfort of not being in control. So when you set a limit, they don't process it. They can't. They don't know how. They react, they ghost, they guilt, they explode, they spiral, not because you were harsh, but because healthy boundaries, even the best ones, feels like abandonment to them, like abandonment to emotionally immature people. Emotionally immature people, they live in a world of extremes. You're either with me or you're against me. They personalize everything. Have you ever felt like that? It's just like not, you could blow and you offend them. Like when you try to create healthy distance, they hear you don't love me. But your job is not to parent your parent or overfunction for a sibling or twist yourself into keeping the peace. Your job is to show up in a way that is clear and kind, and then allow them to have their reaction without making it mean something about you. So how do you mind a boundary like this, like lending money? Going back to the secure the bond method, I would say, I love you so much, man. Like, I wish I had endless funds. Unfortunately, I don't. So I am not able to lend you money right now. I care about you. I want our relationship to stay strong. So I hope you understand. Now, if they lash out, if they guilt trip, disappear, don't chase them. That is the emotional immaturity trap. You can send one message later that says, I understand this is super disappointing. I just, again, want you to know I care about you so much. When you're ready to talk respectfully, I'm happy to take your call. And then you wait without over-explaining and without rescuing. So why this works is it teaches that tantrums don't work on adults. It reinforces your boundary without abandoning the relationship, and it models self-respect for the both of you. So let's bring this all the way back to the beginning. That night with our son. Coming home from my in-laws, screaming in pain at midnight, the night that my husband called his mom to let her hear, like, don't do this to him, and still nothing changed. We thought we were setting boundaries, but we weren't. We were explaining, we were asking, we were hoping to be understood as parents, to be respected. If we had known then what we know now, we would have minded our boundary instead of waiting on them to. We would have changed visits, how it looked. We would have shifted to shorter visits, supervised times, or even said, we're gonna pause on overnights for a while because we can't seem to get on the same page right now. But we didn't do that. We endured. And our son continued to suffer for years. And that resentment just stockpiled. The confusion turned into pain. The pain turned into disconnection until finally we snapped. And we had a devastating 2-year estrangement. Not only junk food, there was a lot of things, but it was along the same lines. It was just a ton of paper cuts that built up over time. I wouldn't wish estrangement on anyone who actually doesn't want to cut off their family, who are just looking to be respected. If you're sitting in that ache, feeling disrespected, dismissed, doubting yourself, I want you to hold on to this. Families don't always disrespect your boundaries because they're bad. Sometimes they're just blind to their own wounds. They're stuck in their own roles. They're scared. They're immature. When you understand that, you stop internalizing their reactions and you start making boundary decisions that come from a grounded, healthy place. This is exactly why my husband and I wrote our newest book, Managing Overbearing Parents and In-Laws Without Feeling Like the Bad Guy. This is the guide, the book we wish we would have had 10 years ago before everything blew up with my in-laws. It includes real stories, over 70 scripts using my Secure the Bond method, step-by-step guidance from getting on the same page as your partner all the way to healing without an apology. This is our love letter to families who are trying to do it differently emotionally. You do not have to twist yourself into someone you're not in order to be loved. You don't have to choose between peace and connection. You just need the right tools to hold onto your boundary with warmth and with confidence. And we have all that packed into this book for less than a cup of coffee. So you'll find that information in the show notes below. Okay, that's it. What did you think about today's episode? Let's talk about it in the comments. Talk to you later. Bye.